Okay, this is part two. I wanted to, whenever you clicked on the writing assignments in this unit, Unit 3, I wanted to talk specifically about the essay instructions, show you the sample, but also look at the report checklist. And if you notice right here with the report instructions that we just went over in the other video, the report checklist is also very important, and I want you to make sure that you go over it to make sure that you have done everything you need to do prior to submitting your rough draft. So be sure to look through this particular document, the APA report checklist, to be sure that you have completed everything you need. And then again, here are the report essay instructions and your topics to choose from. And I wanted to show you the student sample of the informational report. And again, this is APA format. And I've blotted out the student's name, but this is basically what your title page would look like. You'll have it's usually a shortened version of your title, and it's in all caps. This is what's called a running header, and it's in the left part of your header. If you notice up here, it's in the left part of your header. And then, of course, you have your page number over here to the right. This is going to have your title, then it will have your name, and then it will have Catawba Valley Community College here. You won't have a date. You won't have a class. Again, this is a different type of a formatting for this type of essay. And then we go to our page 1 of the actual essay. It's going to show up as page 2 since your title page was page 1. And then what this student did was give a brief kind of introduction to her topic. And the good thing about this type of essay is that you can write phrases like this psychological report will examine. It's very straightforward in your wording. And this student, like I said, chose the stages of grief. That's not one of your choices. So this is just used for example purposes. And you can use first person in here. You can use, you tell why you chose this topic, what's interesting about it before you move on. So what this student did was at the end of the introduction here, she put, in this report, the following questions will be addressed. And then she put a colon. And then what she did is after she did some brainstorming to figure out what questions she had about the topic, she chose from those. And you can choose as many as you want. You want to make sure you fit the length requirement, so you definitely want to choose as many as you can. You don't want to overload it because you want your points to be thoughtful and rich with information. So this person chose 4, which I think is a good number to choose. And her 4 questions were, what are the 5 stages of grief? How long does a person typically spend in each stage? Is grief different for each person? And does American society accept death? And this has to do with the stages of grief and grievance. Whenever I read through it, and you'll see too. But if you look, she went on to explain just a little bit more in here about the report and how it will be broken down. You don't have to do that. So don't think your whole introduction should be 1 full page. It doesn't have to be. It may just end right here after your 4 questions. And then you would have the first heading, which is going to be your first question. And you're going to answer this question as your header. So let's look at that. Like here it says, what are the 5 stages of grief? And do you see here, she's listed it as a header. Now you can center your header and bold print it, or you can left align it and it start over here. Either way, it doesn't matter. As long as it's offset and it looks different from the rest of your essay. So she's taken the first question, and that's going to be her first point of discussion. And then she's going to go through here and basically answer this question by giving information. And as you can see, the MLA documentation here. Do you see how you have an author's last name, you have a comma, and then you have what's called the year of publication. This is what the basic APA citation looks like, okay? And then here, like you have a statement where Julie Axelrod stated this, and at the very end here, she put 2006. Now, that is not correct. Typically what you're supposed to do is you would, right after the person's name, you would put the year, and you would not put it at the end. Okay, like I said, this is a student essay, so it's not 100% correct, but I did want to throw that out there to you to make sure you understood that the actual year goes beside the person's name. And here's if it's included in a citation and how it would look. All right, and then she takes the next heading and puts it in as a header, a question as a header. And then she answers this particular question. Now, she included a graph in here. I would discourage it because, again, look how small that is. It's very difficult to read, and that's one thing she had a couple points taken off for because she didn't lead in to what this graph was about, didn't explain it. And basically, I mean, if I enlarged it, I would be able to see that it's what she's already explained about the stages of grief. So it's really repetitive and redundant and just taking up space. So I told her, I said, take that out. And for her final, she did. But, and then you can see, she did another heading, explained it here. She did another heading. And here at the very end was her conclusion. And her conclusion was very specific in what she learned about the topic, what she thought about the actual sources she found, the research she found, what, anything really interesting. Is there anything left unknown that, she would still like to know but couldn't find on her research? So that was what she put into her conclusion. And then she has the reference page at the end. And if you notice, the sources are in ABC order, just like the MLA Works Cited page. The difference is, instead of last name, comma, first name, what you would do in MLA, it's last name, comma, first initial. You don't put first names here. And then you have the year of publication in parentheses. Then you have the title of the small work, which is the title of the article or web page that you're looking at. And then you have the title of the large work, or most of the time it's the website. And then this is any other publication information that may come with that source, whether it's a volume, an issue, page numbers, whatever. And then if it's a URL, you're going to have a URL included there. But there's no quotation marks around the title of the article here. There's some little things that are different than MLA, but this is a good example to show you what to do and what it should look like. You can also look at the sample that I've also provided in the APA resources in your resources folder. You could look at it there too. But this is just a good essay, and it does go over the 3-page requirement. It went over to 4 pages, I believe. And then you have the title page and reference page. So you do want to be sure that you stick to the length requirement. Don't go nuts. Don't go crazy. I have had students before who have submitted like 10-page reports. That's a lot, and that's unnecessary. So you definitely want to make sure you stick to the length requirement. Maybe going over a page is not a big deal, but I wouldn't go over any more than that. You need at least 3 resources, and those resources should come from NC Live. But if you want to find some online, and there's probably some really good ones online for these topics, you can certainly use those. It's just going to be your responsibility to cite them correctly in APA format. Okay? And if you have questions about that, please feel free to message me to make sure you've done it correctly if you're not using NC Live. Again, that's all for today. And again, if you have questions, I'm here. Thank you.